Mike?
Here.
Greg?
Yes.
Charles?
Yeah.
Darren?
Yes.
Jim? Janet?
Right.
Okay, you have a quorum.
Okay. Well, we need to make some of the stuff official that we did last time. The nomination at large for trustee seat that's vacant, that number 7 spot.
I nominate Todd Holder.
Second.
If no other nominations, we'll elect Todd.
Okay, I'll call the roll. Mike?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Darren?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Welcome, Todd.
And we need to vote on the chairman and the vice chairman. I think we did that. You were vice chairman and I was chairman.
I nominate Jim Holder for chairman, and can we do to get 2?
Yeah.
And Greg Glass as vice chairman.
Second.
Okay,
Seconded by Mike. Okay,
and need a secretary and treasurer and
let me call the roll if you do. Jim, let me call the roll
All
since
right.
that was a nomination for 2. Janet?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Darren?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Jim?
yes,
Okay. And we can move on to the secretary.
yeah, can you do that?
Sure. Okay.
Secretary and treasurer?
Oh, you're asking me if I can do the secretary treasurer. Actually, I'm not a member of your authority. I think you need to have one of your trustees be an acting secretary because they'll sign on your legal documents as a trustee. So you need to have one of your trustees be a secretary. I can assist them, but you need to have a trustee that can sign on any official documents as the trustee secretary. And treasurer. You also need that.
Do we need 2 separate ones, or can that be a combined?
We've had it both ways.
Let's do combined.
I nominate Todd Holder.
And
Second.
we're joining the seats. Okay. Motion by Darren, seconded by Janet. Roll call. Darren,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes,
Todd.
No.
Doesn't help.
I'll do that.
Doesn't count.
Okay.
now we need to have a meeting time, a regular meeting time for this group. Open for discussion.
Were we talking about the first Tuesday of the month? Is that what we discussed?
We talked about it being the first Tuesday of the month at noon. The only thing I think that was questioned is if that would limit it on time as you guys were developing, if you could commit to more than just your lunch hour. I think that's the thing that was the only concern with that time. Does anybody see that being a problem if you run over?
No. I mean, I'd say if it doesn't work, then we'll just, if there's other things we have to do, we'd call a special meeting.
Yeah,
If it's, which we'll probably be doing anyway, I would assume.
That-
On the motion? I second
I-
motion.
Yeah, I make a motion, it's the first Tuesday of each month at 12 o'clock.
And Darren second?
Yeah.
Okay.
And right here for as of now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Mike,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes,
Todd.
Yes.
now we need to adopt bylaws for this committee. We have a set of those,
You do have a set?
maybe. If,
We have a trust agreement. We
Yeah,
don't
we
have a
have
set of
bylaws.
bylaws.
okay,
I probably recommend that we research a set of bylaws from a similar situation and then come back to the group before we adopt anything. I don't think we have to adopt anything today.
No, you need to probably
We just need to probably
charge
have-
somebody to
Yeah.
prepare them, and then that'll be brought back to the board for approval.
There you go.
okay.
To not violate quorum, how many could that be? 2, 3? What, that could work on researching that and getting that together?
Two probably, and then.
I mean,
Three maximum.
Yeah,
Three
three
maximum,
Okay.
because you have your quorum as a majority.
And we need a motion to authorize the treasurer to obtain an employee ID number and establish bank accounts.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion by Darren and a second by Charles
Can I hear the motion, please?
to authorize the chairman to,
No, excuse me.
Treasurer.
Treasurer.
sorry, thank you, the secretary treasurer to obtain a employer identification number, your tax exemption filing, and establish banking accounts. Motion by Darren, seconded by Charles. Roll call vote. Darren,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes,
Mike,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Todd.
Yes.
Okay.
Missed one.
Okay.
Huh?
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Janet. I went, sorry. Sorry.
Do we get a motion on 6?
Do you want to chart, do you have anybody that would like or to
serve on that.
serve, yes, if anybody wants to volunteer to serve on that? I have examples that I'll be happy to share, so I could work with that committee
Okay,
if you want.
Is that a legal document that we need to get some outside assistance with?
Yes.
I think so.
I do too.
My recommendation would be whoever you use to create your trust indenture.
Okay, that was Cunningham. Rick,
I'll be happy to work
Secretary
with
treasurer.
Rick and then if anybody else wants to serve on that too, that's fine. It's pretty much going to be a boilerplate deal, I think, just with a set of bylaws that's going to be applicable to us, and you will have to have an opportunity to look at those, and we can approve or disapprove at the next meeting. So yeah, honestly, unless you want more with that and that of a committee, and that I think we can probably do it. I think it's just pretty much boilerplate.
So you're gonna leave that?
I can.
I'll help you.
Todd and Mike. Okay.
So I'll make a motion that Todd, Secretary Treasurer, and Mike work with Rick on coming up with a set of bylaws to be presented at the next meeting, or at a meeting in the future.
Okay. A second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Darren and a second by Greg to authorize Todd and Mike to work with Rick Cunningham to establish or to prepare a set of bylaws to be brought back to the authority for approval. Roll call vote. Darren?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Janet?
Yes.
Jim?
Yep.
Charles?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes. I'm going to introduce you. This is Glenn Calvert with Priefert Complex Designs. Okay. And let's see, Glenn, I think I need to share. Yeah, you've got controller, do you?
I've got what?
Yeah, you've got control. Can you hear us okay?
I can.
All right. This is Glenn Calvert with Priefert Complex Designs. He was, Priefert was actually chosen by the non-committee to help us develop a site draft, or the first preliminary design. And there was a lot of stuff that was considered when we went into it, as those members of the non-committee will remember. And I think I'm just going to turn it over to you, Glenn, and let you take it from there. And maybe we should go around the room just briefly, Glenn, since you've not met all these people, and introduce those that haven't met you before. If you haven't met Glenn before, please give just a brief bio about who you represent and what you might do, so that we could be off on and going. Todd Holder, and Glenn, you remember him from before. My dad, Jim Holder, and you remember him.
Janet Kenningham, president at Northwestern, and we met earlier, I believe.
Charles Tucker, I'm representing the Alva Tourism Committee.
Darren Slater, and I'm representing the Woods County Commissioners.
Mike Hood, I'm representing the city of Alva.
Greg Glass, I met you earlier from the non-committee.
We have a newspaper reporter, Lynn Martin, that's here. Videographer, Alex.
Alex Mance with the City of Alva, Alva Chamber.
George.
Joey Melton, Ward 2, Seat 2, just sitting in on the meeting.
Sonia Williams. Hi, Glenn.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Okay, it's all yours.
Is that it?
That's us. We
Can you see my computer? I don't think you probably can.
Yep, we're watching every move you make.
Alright. Well, I don't see all of you. I don't necessarily have to. I know who all's there, so if you can see my Alva Expo Center screen, I'll just click through that and kind of rehash. And I'm kind of doing this a little bit on the fly. I'm going to try to remember as much of this as I can. If through the course of this, anyone has any questions, you can either ask them now or we can go back to it. But I've been kind of going through it a little bit and trying to find some high points that I think that would be meaningful based on the things that we've heard and we've learned about what Alva's looking to do based on the people that we spoke with earlier. So is that okay with you guys?
that's great. And Glenn, I might tell you, I brought a couple copies of who you talked to and what the feedback was that I'll pass around and let them look at. Okay. I didn't bring a copy for everybody, but I brought. They can pass and look at it, so that way they can see who you got your information from.
All right. Well, I can go through that real quick and just kind of do a real brief synopsis on who we spoke with, and that way people that don't see it will, until later, kind of know. We spoke with Stockton Graves, the rodeo team coach at the college. We spoke with the Waynoka Chamber of Commerce, Gene Cole, as well as some other people that came into a different meeting. We spoke with Kay Becker, and she is, as you know, I guess she's a professor there at the college, correct?
Yes.
And I think at the time she was there representing the Freedom West Community Development Corporation.
That's correct.
We also met with Karen Armbruster with the OS Extension Office. More people from Waynoka Chamber were Alex, Mance, Brian, and Norvell. I remember that Brian and Norvell, but I don't think I ever got their last names.
I think that was the City of Alva Chamber. That was Alva
Okay.
Chamber.
Oh, okay. We spoke with Ron Rader, Northwest Technology Center, and Ron, are you on this board, or am I thinking something else?
You're thinking of somebody else. He brought in some of the some of the surveys, and he talked about the dirt bike stuff, and that was kind of in his wheelhouse.
Okay. We did speak with Dr. Cunningham, who is in the room today, correct?
Yes.
And then, of course, Sonia, Deacon, we talked to him about his maintenance, Deacon Fiddler, about the operations of the place, and I think that pretty much covers everyone that we talked to. And you should have a question answer form that we use in lots of places that we go. So what their input was varied, and I would say vary in content, detail, and amount. So you can see that for yourself on the form that Sonia has. So with that as a background, I'll just start going through this PowerPoint. As I said, if you see anything that you want to stop and ask questions about, just blurt them out and I'll stop.
Hey, Glenn, can I preface this with this is what you brought to us initially before you ever talked to us?
That's right. And this was what? This was over. We met in April of last year, but the RFQ process came out beforehand. At that time, we knew absolutely nothing about what Alva was looking for, other than what the RFQ stated. We did present this, and then after meeting with these folks in the meeting, we came up with some really 30,000-foot solutions to be considered for the overall site development. And we have those available, or you've probably seen them as well, but we've got them that we can probably pull up on the computer if we want to talk about that as well. Are we good?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. A lot of you may have heard of Priefert. It's been in the business for basically, with an emphasis primarily on livestock and rodeo equipment since 1963. You can see a lot of the places where we got our equipment and a lot of the events that we're intimately involved with. Over the course of several years, and trying to put equipment into buildings that may not have been designed for an emphasis on livestock, whether it's rodeo, livestock shows, whatever it was. A lot of times those were designed by architects that did not really know some of the ins and outs of livestock handling equipment and things like that. So in a lot of cases, Priefert was called upon to try to cram a livestock show or a rodeo into a building that really didn't have any business at all hosting one, just because of the layout, the structure, things like that. We've seen everything from split finish concrete to columns in the way and finishes in a lot of cases that just really don't fit the particular building. So in about 2006, a gentleman came to Priefert and says, you know what, why don't you guys just start designing the buildings as well? And the Prieferts are always open-minded to what they feel like is a good idea. So in 2008, I came to work for Priefert Manufacturing and started Priefert Complex Design. We are a licensed engineering and architectural firm in several states, including Oklahoma. We don't always lead a project. A lot of times we may be consultants to the architect, or we may lead the project, just depending on what the owner wants to do. Some of the projects we've been involved with are listed here: Arkansas State University, Texas A&M. I'm looking at the college projects. We've got another Texas A&M in Commerce, if you guys remember that little campus. A project that you're probably familiar with is Woodward, Oklahoma County Fair. And then some other ones that we're currently working on as well that aren't on here, as well as some that we've already finished that aren't on here as well. We will look at several of these things, these projects through the course of this PowerPoint, just kind of give you an idea of the scope of some of these projects. This right here is a project at Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia. This project was phased primarily because of cost. It was funded by the man's name on the end of the arena. His name was Stewart. He funded the arena portion of the project with $2 million. And that wasn't quite enough to do phase one, which was primarily the arena. So he came up with some more money. It turned out to be a really nice project. At some point in time, within a year or so, the Welcome Center with restrooms, concessions, things like that was added. That's the brick building on the right side. This building is used for lots of things. It's used for teaching. It's located at the college. They actually have livestock equipment inside the building where the ag-related classes can do everything from animal husbandry to other veterinarian-based and cattle working-based classes. It is a full-time practice arena for the rodeo team, as well as a venue for hosting college rodeos. I don't know if they are hosting any other rodeos there now that aren't college related, but it definitely has that capability. This is an inside view of the arena. You see on one side it's got bleachers, the other side has got equipment. That's some of the things that we try to do is try to control the interface between visitors and livestock. There are some instances, for instance, at a livestock show, you want to encourage the interface between the visitors and the kids that are showing the animals and the livestock, so that they can show off what they're working on, give them opportunity to answer questions to people that might be interested. But then there are also instances where you want to separate the visitors from the livestock. And a good example of that would be a rough stop event where you don't want a kid that just got through running law at Walmart running the same way in livestock can. So in a lot of rough stock events, we'll try to separate as best we can visitors from the livestock. This particular building off to the right, you can't see it, actually has an open-air classroom with squeeze chutes and things like that for, I would say, something like a hands-on and demonstration type classroom environment. This right here is a project at Texas A&M in College Station. This was a privately funded project. Started out with a single donation of $25 million. Those don't come around often. And whenever someone is willing and able to give that much money, they have a lot to say about how it's constructed and how it's designed. This project was constructed, paid for privately, constructed privately, and then gifted back to the university. It includes two big arenas, one for Western, one for English. Includes two warm-up arenas, includes a really nice stall barn off to the left. And also off to the right of the big buildings in the middle is a multi-purpose, I would say, exhibition and assembly building. It also has offices for some of the directors of the program. Not a whole lot of people get an opportunity to work on a project like this just because they don't come around very often. This project was led by an architect in Houston, and we were their consultant related to all things equestrian and animal safety and user friendliness, for lack of a better word. This right here doesn't look like much, but it's an arena by a Cowboy church. And I've got on my other screen here, see if I can pull this off. Oh, there you guys are. See you now. I'm going to try to pull up some pictures of this building here. The reason why is from day one, this was going to be a phased project. And this was the first phase. Let me see if I can find this for you. I'm just going to try to drag this over to my other screen and hopefully you can see this. Maybe not. There you go. Can you see that?
Yes.
You see the rendering?
Yep.
Okay. So the first part, the picture you just saw, is the big building that's the highest one. See where my mouse is up here?
Uh-huh.
That's the first part. The second part is along the left side. It looks different than this, and I've got pictures I can show you. But the second part of the second phase is going to be restrooms, concessions, meeting space, and all that kind of stuff. The third phase was going to be the part in the front, which was basically a church school. And we designed all of this in like a master plan phase to be able to do this as the church could afford it. The church initially built the big building. That's the picture that I was showing. Let's see if I can pull this off. Okay, there's the big building right here. And here's a picture of the inside of it. Very functional for what they wanted to do. They wanted to be able to minister to these people by getting people that otherwise wouldn't come to church into an event. This particular facility is used free of charge to anyone. The only thing that the church requires is like a 15-minute opportunity to witness. And so this thing has been constructed, and this right here is the completion of phase one. Phase 2 and phase 3 have come along. I'm going to try to show you some of that.
I think he's going to bring these up, but in case he doesn't, these are some pictures of how the inside turned out.
Okay. These are just examples of how we finish out the inside of this. Not everyone gets thrilled about restrooms, but it kind of gives you a flavor for what they wanted to do. This is under the lean-to portion on the left side of the big drawing. This right here is the outside of the lean-to coming up. This right here is kind of what the breezeway portion looks like. We made it out of logs and concrete blocks. Let's see if I can make them smaller for you. And one of the things that we added to this project, which increase some of their programs. Again, for them, it's about offering a ministry as well as getting people involved in church that might not otherwise come. We also added an equestrian therapy, hippotherapy arena in one end of this, and there's a certain organization called PATH, Professional Association Therapeutic Horsemanship, I believe, that we designed this according with PATH requirements. One of the things that we work on a lot of times with colleges is how we can incorporate things like this into things like nursing curriculum and things like that so that people can get certifications. And not only that, but you offer a service to the community that may not otherwise be available. So we'll go on to the next project here. This right here is a master plan that we did for Laramie County in Wyoming. It's just outside of Cheyenne. Actually, Cheyenne is the county seat. University of Wyoming gave Laramie County a chunk of land. On this piece of land, originally it held and was the home of the University of Wyoming agricultural group, and there was everything from housing there to barns there to sheds. There was a sheep unit there, all kinds of different agricultural type buildings that had been there since probably the 30s. The Laramie County Fair is still located there. They're actually operating out of one of the original houses on the piece of property. But what this was a really nice campus. They were wanting to find a place for the fairgrounds. Right now it's held at the Cheyenne Frontier Days, and the fair happens the week after the rodeo. So you can imagine getting the rodeo at Frontier Days out of there 1 week, and the fair starting up within a week, and having to relocate all the pens, all the people, all the animals, all the business, all the visitors onto a piece of ground in downtown Cheyenne. It's just a really tough situation. But what we started thinking about is how we can hang on to the heritage of the farming and the agricultural lifestyle. And they had talked to some people, and the first thing some of those people want to do is tear down all the old buildings. Well, those buildings have some use. In fact, the county has already spent money rehabilitating some of those buildings. So what we talked about doing was turning this University of Wyoming farm into a fairground that consisted of this big building as well as a bunch of outbuildings. For instance, a single outbuilding, one of the renovated ones actually, would be perfect for someone that wanted to display an exhibit for the quilting group. In fact, the quilting group was one of the main groups that we talked to. So our entire plan not only includes this building, but also a rehabilitation of existing buildings, which, for the most part, the rehabilitation was not going to be that huge of a problem to do. But they wanted to be able to host lots of things here, everything from trade shows to farm shows to livestock shows, 4-H, FFA. The red building on the end got the fire truck sticking out of it. Things up here. The county was about to undertake the construction of a building, standalone building, just to house its emergency equipment. And quite honestly, I don't know if they built that. In fact, this is a rendering. This has not been built. I talked to these guys yesterday, and they're still trying to get it done, and they're as confident now as ever. But what we talked about doing is combining buildings in order to save resources, save money. So we talked about making this red building an attachment to the big building during the county fair, the emergency equipment would come out of that building and actually be an exhibit. And that is the only building right there on this project that is air conditioned. So we would take the emergency equipment out of that building, put it on display, and then inside this building we would move in and set up booths for some of the exhibits that need to be climate controlled and not in the environment, not in the dust. We also looked at a lot of the existing roads. There are paths, like all farms, there's paths that have always been taken, that's the shortest distance points between points A and points B. And over the course of time, there are trails that have developed through this piece of property. So we kind of kept those same trails, kept some of the open spaces. This open space right here where you see the Ferris wheel rendered, that's there now, the trees are there now. So we basically kind of embrace that site as much as we can. The buildings that we work on, in order to take the biggest advantage for the funds that are available, have to be multi-purpose. They've got to be able to do everything. One of the main things that we've got to design around is RODEO, because that takes the biggest footprint and has the most consideration for movement of livestock, for penning and everything. So a lot of times we talk to people like your rodeo coach, and we try to figure out, okay, what kind of events do you hold, what are you used to competing in? And that's exactly what we did here. We had to find a footprint that would work for what they wanted to do. You can see on the on the left-hand side of the drawing, the emergency area right here, the one that was in red on the other rendering. These areas right here, if you can see my mouse right there, those areas are storage areas to support the emergency equipment. It has conference rooms, open office space, for instance. We were asking them what they might want for office space. So we just need open space. For instance, in a fair, they need areas where people can be at tables working, everything from judges to fairs. We have restrooms, concessions, check-ins. In a situation like this, we have I like to put a concourse behind. The concourse can be used for lots of things. Even during a rodeo, you can get display areas for exhibits and things like that in a concourse. Any questions about that?
I don't think so.
Okay, we'll continue. Okay, here we are, same building. This is a huge pig show. Actually, this is the setup, as I recall, for the county fairs. You see under the lean-tos, and by the way, we use lean-tos a bunch. This area out on the side, to the right, and this area on the bottom, going left to right, those are lean-tos. The reason I like lean-tos is you get lots and lots of square footage for the least amount of money. Really all that is, and these instances here, if these are high stalls for cattle, this is a dirt floor with a roof and sides. And the same thing on the back. Again, we try to get as much square footage as we can that you're going to need for the dollars that are available. In this case, they had, according to this, we got room for 240 cattle and ties. And then in this area here, we got 600, looks like 624 sheep and hog pens. And we got exhibit space in that area that I was talking about where we took the emergency equipment out over here in the red. We have, they have llamas that they show as well, alpaca. So we got those stalls and 4 stalls up here. And we have a pocket pet area. They will, if it breathes in Cheyenne, it's going to be shown. They'll show rats, cats, dogs, hamster, rabbit, you name it, it gets shown. They say on those particular days, you never know what's going to get dragged to the show. But what they try to do is involve as many people as possible in their livestock show. In this situation here, we're showing 2 arenas. Got 2 50 by 60 arenas. They're on opposite corners. And you'll also notice that we've got our bleachers opposite of each other as well. One of the things that you'll hear about is in livestock shows, you get almost like dueling judges. Whenever they're actually critiquing the animal, they're trying to talk over each other. we can isolate the sound and minimize that problem just in location of livestock rings and bleachers, and also in the direction of speakers that go to those particular rings. This right here would be a situation for, say, a farm show. I was at one in Colorado, and the place skips my mind at the moment. Well, I can't remember the name of it. But in that particular farm show, they bring in everything from combines to tractors, big display items, as well as smaller booths. So this is just another example of things that you can do in an area like this. But again, it all started with the layout having to be big enough for rodeo. Rodeo, a lot of times, is a major component to the use of these. And one of the things you always hear is, well, we're about to build this big old building and all we're going to do is rope in it. Well, that's not right. Obviously, those events take place here, but as I said earlier, for these to make political, economical, and social sense to build, they've got to be able to accommodate lots of different interests and lots of different people. This right here is a project that's under construction now in Childress. Unfortunately, on this project, the general contractor got fired, and we were actually employed by the general contractor as a design build arrangement. So we're still working with the City of Childress, answering questions. The City of Childress has taken it on themselves to finish construction. The building on the left, I would say, is about 90% complete, and the arena is probably about 80% complete. They got their first major event happening there in May. It's the Youth Rodeo. There's some of it going up right there. This is the inside of the exhibition hall right here. We designed this two different ways. We met with the city manager and the Economic Development Corporation head, and we went to several projects, including the one at Southern Arkansas University. And when they saw, and that, by the way, that's the first slide that I showed you, the first project. Whenever they saw the benefits of separating buildings like this and be able to climate control one, like this exhibition hall, and maybe the other one for more rough and tumble events, you might say, they decided to do that with this one as well. So that's the reason why this has two different buildings. This is in Taylor County, in Abilene. The building right here, under my cursor, is an existing building. Actually, that building and this shed right here is all existing. We did this master plan for them back in 2013. It included modifications to this covered outdoor arena. It included a very large livestock barn right here. We have connectors going to these facilities, and it also includes a new multi-purpose event center right here. After we did this work, the county commissioners have been working and strategizing on when the best time to approach the voters on this is. And we're currently in the process of refining this based on some additional needs and wants that they've come up with. And this project is slated to go to voters in November of this year. And since we started talking to them, it's grown significantly. This stall barn down here started at 120,000 square feet right now, but at this, whenever we did this building, but now it's over 200,000 square feet for the stall barn. Lots and lots of animals. My fear is that, and I talked to the fairground manager about this, is that the project at some point in time could potentially get too big for voters to feel like they want to support something that big. We did this building here and this building here, the improvements to this building, the site work and everything. I think the original budget we were working toward was less than 20 million, and now it's probably twice that. I don't know if you've ever been to Abilene, to Taylor County Event Center, but it also has a huge Coliseum there, and they're basically going to completely remodel the Coliseum and lump it in with this project. So we'll keep our fingers crossed to see if the project doesn't get too big for the voters to approve. This right here is a rendering of that same project on a different angle. This right here is the event center. There's our stall barn in the back. This building right here in the middle, if you can see my cursor, is the original building. And we've added, again, a lean-to because we know that we can get square footage for a cheap price under the lean-to, and that's going to be new stalls there. So that brings us to your project, and we didn't do anything specific other than put these drawings together to kind of talk about the design philosophy. And some of the things that we look at are obviously the square footage of what we understood the project was going to be, so we draw that to scale. That's what we've got here. We hate tearing things down. Sometimes it's necessary. We have never seen any of your buildings. You guys will recognize this one. Here's your two stall barns. We have never seen these before. But we know that wherever we go, the people want to be able to get from point A to point B without getting out in the weather and the elements. So not knowing what those buildings were, we actually did a connector from here all the way to the new building. We included dry stalls outside. These are open air to increase the stalling and the dry lots of what you've already got started. A lot of places we go, in fact, you just about can't operate and run some facilities without two arenas. So whenever we did this, we were thinking, okay, there's an outdoor arena, we'll use it. And of course, we'll have one inside of our building over here too. So what we were looking to do was find a way that we could use both arenas at the same time, using the same pins and adding to them. So that was some of our thoughts on that. And obviously, things change. This was probably done last February or something like that. Again, before we've seen anything there. Anytime you do this, you kind of go out on a limb and say, well, they hate that. We'll never hear from them again. But again, the only reason we did is kind of talk about some of the things that we consider. We did throw together just a real preliminary spatial plan. Again, you'll see the rodeo equipment again, because that's what drives the square footage 9 times out of 10. Just because there's rodeo stuff there doesn't mean that there can't be livestock show things there. There can't be displays for large equipment, farm shows, trade shows, other fair events. We did hear that whenever we were there interviewing, and whenever you look through the notes, that meeting space was a big player in this. People really wanted more assembly space. We heard everything from full kitchens to air-conditioned event center to air-conditioned meeting spaces for up to 2,000. I mean, you'll see in the notes there's a gamut. So that's going to be a point where, you know, as a board, decisions have to be made. Where do you spend the money? What's the real focus on this? And what can we do that best meets the needs and the wants of the groups that were interviewed? aside some time to stress the importance of a facility being multifunctional. We can look at any one of these things and see a group of people that go to one of them that may never want to go to another project. For instance, there are certain concerts that we would all like to go see, and there are certain concerts that we wouldn't. I have zero interest in motocross. The first time I got on a motorcycle, I was 4 years old, and I burned myself on the tailpipe, and I ain't been on one since. But that doesn't mean that those aren't important for the local economy, and that might be the lifeblood of a family. That's just not my interest. But you can see, I don't have to read them for you. You can see what all they mean. But the thing on the right-hand side is pretty meaningful as well. When you don't really talk about the actual events, but you start seeing the different groups of people and how they can all be accommodated with an event center. As I said earlier, for this to be economically, socially, and politically feasible, it really needs to be able to address all of those people's needs and interests. We've talked about lots of this, maximizing investment dollars, build for versatility. We've talked about utilizing existing assets. You know, on the slide we showed you for your building, we were talking about using your existing barns and using your existing pens, using your existing arenas to support the new, and for the new to support them and keep them full. I did mention phasing, like we did at Barnum Church, and that was, you know, phasing can be done for lots of reasons. A couple of the reasons might be in order of importance. You got to have something now, and then the other part of phasing, you know, things that we're all probably familiar with at our own home is, you know what, I'd like to build that huge building now, but at this point, I'm going to build this and I'm going to add on to it. Some things that we think about related to design, width and length. Every time we go to a rodeo coach or go to a board, we ask them how long their arena needs to be, and they say 150 by 300. I said, well, okay, that's great, and we appreciate that, but when you start talking about the width of the arena plus the depth of the bleachers, and no one wants to have a column in front of your bleachers, and you got to consider your row stock on the back side of it, your buildings start getting wider and wider and wider. And the cost with these buildings increases exponentially with the width. And that's all related to structural design. So we start talking about, okay, what about an arena this size? And we'll give them a list of arenas that they are used to competing in, they're used to seeing, and they say, you know what, maybe I don't need something that way. Maybe I don't need something that long. Concrete floor versus dirt floor. There's lots of thought to go into that. Everything from, you know, the benefits of cleanliness on the concrete floor to the cons of the concrete floor, because every time you have an equestrian event or a rodeo, you got to bring dirt in it, and then you got to bring dirt out. When the dirt's not in the arena, you got to have a building someplace to store it so it doesn't all blow away or wash away. Ventilation, insulation fans, and another one we can put on there is air conditioning. Lots of people think that they have to have an air-conditioned event center, and if that's what we want to build, that's great, but obviously it just costs money. Lean-to additions, as I said earlier, that's the most affordable square footage that we can put in the building. Bleacher types, packed gravel parking. You can really blow a lot of money if you start wanting a concrete and entire parking lot. Kitchen considerations, that would be kitchen versus concessions versus catering situations. A lot of times we might go to a situation like this and say, you know what, let's do a really nice concession area and open it up to catering so that your local restaurants can bring their goods in and actually sell them when they've got a captive audience. That's about catering to your local businesses, instead of having everyone from out of town going to an arena and eating a hot dog or whatever, it gives them an opportunity to take advantage of that new market that's coming to town. We've even seen places where if they have a multi-day or multi-night event, the first day they might come, you might have 6 or 8 different restaurants come in and give free samples. And then at that point, they know what they want to eat, and they'll go to town and get it. Landscaping, native plants, RV hookups. RV hookups are something everybody wants, everybody uses and needs. And then one of the things that came up in the notes that we saw was management. And Dr. Cunningham, I don't remember if that was you or maybe Ms. Decker or someone, but they wrote, I saw at least 2 or 3 times about management. And we all know that Ethan's overmatched and understaffed in his operations. But when we build something like this, we need someone that's going to be there all the time, not only to keep it maintained, but to also market it. The thing does no good if you build something like this and you don't have it marketed. In fact, I've been trying to tell the people in Childress they need to have somebody on staff for a marketing/manager well before the project is completed, because when the project is finished, you want people in it. You don't want to start marketing at that point in time. And I believe that's it.
Now, do you want to go to what you presented the final? Or, I mean, what you came back to us after you talked to us?
I can if I can find it.
I think we handed out a copy to everybody at the first meeting. I don't know. Maybe you have it with
I
you.
think we had 2 copies.
Okay. Yeah, it's the one that you have in your hand.
Yeah. Let's see.
I might have it at you. I have it. Yeah, I have it. There's another one. It's, yeah.
You've got one? Have you all got one of these? Better not.
I think it needs to, but I'm not gonna swerve it.
Don't know whether you can find it or not, Glenn. We've got.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's got the shorter. Okay, we can see it.
So, at one time we had, well, I'll just go through here. You get your legend on your bottom left-hand corner. These different components that you guys are all familiar with are numbered. 1 and 2 items, and 11 is a relocated item. That's the repurposed equipment barn. Right now it's a horse barn. It's very low roof, as you know, and we at one time talked about keeping it, but the longer we looked at it, we were thinking, you know what, we can build this nice facility over here, but at the end of the day, you still got a horse barn that's really not something that is going to make people go home and say, wow, what do you think of that horse barn at Alva? Well, they may say that, but it won't be in a good way. So we talked about needing a new equipment barn. So again, we don't like tearing stuff down. If we tear it down, we would like to reuse it. So we did relocate number 11. We did keep a connection to your livestock building. The parts of the livestock building look salvageable. The arena part, not so much. What we talked about doing and whether or not this is economically feasible is undetermined. But we did talk about potentially taking down the center part of the arena and inserting a pre-engineered system in the middle of it. That's basically what you're looking at. That sideways T shape duplicates the barrel vault that you got in there with those steel trusses now. So that's just what we were thinking about at the time. We did include a connector between that barn, which we'll call the livestock barn, and the Event Center number 1. We also have a new covered arena installed barn in item 2. A lot of times these events, especially some of the larger equestrian, roping, rodeo events, will want to have multiple arenas. So we included another barn adjacent to it for that. The small square up on the top left-hand side of the new arena would be just a focal point. We talked about having potentially a restroom in this, a restaurant in this facility, and we wanted to have that kind of off to the side where we could open it up to people on the weekends and the evenings, and wouldn't necessarily have to open up the whole event center unless there was something going on in it. Item 8, this area right here, as I recall, there's an existing sewer line in there, and we got water in there. So we talked about using that for RVs, and that looks to me that we could probably put anywhere from 20 to 30 in that area if it was all drawn to scale. We did have a connector between building 5 and building 4. Right now, when you come out of the merchant's building, you have a door. You have to go out of the building in order to get to number 4, which I'm sure there are certain times of year that's not, or certain days that's not the best option to have. So what we talked about doing was just doing a small connector that's item 13, so that you can connect the merchant's building to the concession area, I believe, in the renovated livestock building, building 4. As I recall, there's a kitchen and concession in that area right there, correct?
Yes.
Okay. 6 and 7, I don't think we talked about doing anything to that, and I don't think that was really part of, really a concern at the time. But that's about where we left it, as I recall.
Does that seem, I mean, Greg, do you seem that kind of where we were?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Glenn, I have one question. If you have a concrete floor and you haul dirt in for a rodeo, would you haul a foot or 18 inches? How much dirt would have to be hauled in?
I would say probably a foot. I don't think you're going to need 18 inches because really you're going to be working that dirt throughout the course of your rodeo with drags and stuff. I would say your barrel races around the barrels and stuff is where you really start digging down, but even that can be packed down and flattened out.
So one foot is 1 foot is sufficient?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of a general rule of thumb that we've heard, and these aren't my numbers, but these are what more than a few people have told us, that every time you touch it and finish and take the dirt out of a rodeo arena and then bring it back in, it's $5,000 every time you touch it. So you have to have somebody equipment costs. If you got your own equipment and you got time to do it, that's a whole other thing. Maybe you can do it for less than that, but that's what I would just kind of keep in the back of your mind for operation costs.
Glenn, if I'm not mistaken, and Greg and Janet, when we talked about the livestock building portion of it, we looked at taking those bleachers out. Did we not, Alex? Yes. And like making it the full thing concrete, because the livestock shows, I mean, they bring in the shavings, they don't want the dirt floor. So yeah, we talked about that all being concrete floor and taking the bleachers out, those permanent bleachers, and making that a bigger area, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and that's all part of the thought about it. May or may not be feasible, because as I recall, there's a lot of pipe that are built into those bleachers that likely support the roof. So if you start taking that out, it may turn into a major surgery scenario. If there's a likelihood that everything to the north and to the south of that green, thick leg of the T may have to come out. We just don't know enough about that yet. At the end of the day, that may be the cheapest thing to do, and probably give you better building.
And I think that's kind of where the group had left it.
Yeah.
So if you were phasing, I mean, based on kind of what's here right now, I know there's a lot of unknowns. What would be some of the phasing opportunities?
Was the question about phasing?
Yes.
Yes.
I believe we drew these kind of as we thought they might be phased. Obviously, if we put a building where we're showing that we're going to take down your horse barn now. But I think our initial thoughts were to build the arena first and build the stall barn second. It may make sense to build those simultaneously as much as that can be done. I know in Childress, labor was an issue, and getting people to Childress that were ready, willing, and able to undertake a decent-sized project was not easy. So that's something that we'll have to think about, obviously, in your part of the country as well. But I would say building one first, and then at the same time, you could, I guess, simultaneously, even if you're phasing in order of importance, I would do building one. But if that's not as important, if that's not why you're phasing, then maybe demolition of building 3 can take place at the same time. There's all kinds of ways to skin this, and I really wasn't too prepared for that answer of that question.
Well, in your defense, you haven't got the input of the 3 additional members. I mean, they're just trying to be brought up to speed, and I know, I'm sure Mike, Darren, and Dr. Tucker are going to have some questions and feedback of what they've heard so far.
When you make these drawings, do you put in specs for power, electricity?
We haven't produced any drawings yet other than this, but yeah, they have to be significant power, especially for the livestock area. You know, if we could just say that we're going to keep the majority of the livestock in building 3 and potentially building 2, that the power related to the livestock show is a lot easier to put into a stall barn than it is into a big arena. But if a livestock show is going to be held in the big arena other than just the show, you know, you can stall your animals in buildings 2 and buildings 3. You can show them in building 1 where you've got more people, you know, or you got more seating for people. And have your high power requirements in building 2 and building 3.
Well, and also, I'm like, we tossed around the discussion on where do you put the holding pins for, say, like the jackpot team ropings or whatever. Do you put that in building 1 or building 2 so you don't have to duplicate equipment? We talked about doing it in building 2, and then you would bring them over to 1 as like bringing livestock. So in that open air area, is that closed off? So if that's the air conditioned facility for everybody to be sitting on, and we have team roping cattle in that other, in the south portion of building 1, I mean.
Yes, it would be closed off.
Okay.
There would be a wall that separates the enclosed area from the open air area. Somewhere probably right in that space right in there.
I'm just trying to refresh everybody's memory.
You're refreshing mine some.
questions?
So at this point in building one, I mean, it's not even far enough along to know whether there'd be concession area there or kitchen, or whether that would be in one of the existing buildings. I mean, I'm assuming we haven't gotten that far yet.
I think now everybody's kind of up to speed where it was left off, and now you know why it was stopped.
Because now the hard decisions have to be made.
You know, we got lots of good input from the people we interviewed. And as I said earlier, their input varied in detail, in needs and wants, and in the amount of thought that went behind the detail and behind their comments. And I think there was some really good information gathered, but again, the challenge is to design a building that will best fit as many needs as you want, and at the same time focus on what the board feels like are the top 2 or 3 or 4 priorities. And if we can hit the top 3 or 4 priorities, I think we can come real close to satisfying everything else as well.
I think if that's, we appreciate Glenn's time, and let's let that cook a little bit. Everybody's got an information overload and remembering where we were at. So, unless there's more questions of Glenn at this time, we'll release him and we'll be in touch.
Okay? Anything else?
Thank you, Glenn. We
Thanks very much
appreciate
for
it.
your time.
Okay, y'all have a good weekend.
You too. Are you worried about eating, Jim?
I've got to hit the road, sorry.
Yeah, it lasted longer than what we thought. Please take a sandwich with you, folks. Eddie, are you done?
Yep.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
You're gonna.
Next meeting, April 5th.
April.
So we need to table some actions. Okay?
Okay.
You're gonna need a motion to table, item number 9. Well, I guess it's just possible action, but we can have it back on there, but. And number 10.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion for both of those.
I'll make that motion to table them.
Second.
Greg,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
Jim,
Yep.
Todd.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Mike,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
Jim, Todd.
Yes.